Hey y'all, it's Elisha. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back. And if I'm keeping my voice down, it's because it's super late here. It's after 1 in the morning, and I have been working hard in the other room. Although I just said to my husband, it looks worse than it did before I started. How does that happen? How? But I have gone through, I've been really discerning. I've gone through and organized all of my paper pads and made sure that everything is together. And here's what I've learned. When I first started this, I preferred a 6x6 paper pad. I felt like I had more manageability with it. I found that I used them up faster. I sometimes looked at the large 12x12 sheets like, what am I going to do with the rest of that? But today I've become a different maker, and I actually prefer the 12x12 pads. It is not funny. Cruz likes 12x12 pads, she says, because the cut aparts. I actually like the flexibility of size of paper because now I make all sorts of projects that require large sheets. So as I grew as a crafter, so did my need for larger canvases to work with. What may surprise you, or may astound you, is that I only have 15 paper pads in total, and that includes the ones that y'all sent me for my birthday. And that's it. Which probably to my husband seems like a large amount of paper, and that's like, that's less than what most of you have for Easter. Never mind for anything else. But I'm proud of that because, every Graphic 45 paper pad I bought, I used every inch of. Every Stamperia pad, I used every inch of. With the very few exceptions, I used every inch of every Maggie Holmes pad I bought. I do have a Sunny Days pad here that is not finished, but it's mostly finished. And as you all know, it took me a while to warm to that collection. If it hadn't been for Lily, I'm not sure I would have embraced that collection quite as much as I did. And I know Ara loves it too, but it took me a long time to warm to it. So I do have some of that left. And I do have a really old original Maggie Holmes pad that I bought for like $4.99. And it's much more vintagey than her other stuff, and I love it. And I try not to use it too often. I only use it for very special things because I've never seen it again. It's super early days. And I have also a very early American Crafts pad that looks like it may have been designed by Maggie Holmes. It's got that feel. And again, I try not to use it. Those are the two pads I hoarded of the 15. I do use them. I just use them judiciously. Here's the other thing I've learned about myself. I love Maggie Holmes prints. I don't love the quality of the paper, but I tend to use every pad I get. I have to make a little correction or a little clarification, as I was saying to my husband. I have ephemera thanks to you guys. I mean, I have carousel ephemera. I have Chasing Dreams ephemera for the first time. I just don't have, and I have Prima beautiful ephemera thanks to Dina. And Miss Lily, she cut me out all that amazing ephemera. What I was speaking of was Christmas ephemera. That's what I didn't have here. And I thought it would be so easy to pick up that I wasn't worried. But it actually proved to be much more difficult. And I am super grateful that the husband took me out today. And I'm going to be able to make it all work. So I've got 15 12x12s. Now I do have loose sheets. Like I have beautiful loose sheets of Heritage that Elisha sent me, and I did bring it with me. I have loose sheets of Minte from several collections that I love that you're going to see in projects coming up. I have specialty sheets that I've picked up for shabby projects. So I do have loose sheets on top of that. But I have 15 12x12s, and I have 12 of the 6x6s. But a lot of those are almost finished. I actually made a longer video. It was like 27 minutes where I showed you my paper stash because I'm so surprised. What's really clear to me is that when I buy a My Mind's Eye pad, I tend to use all of it. Like the 6x6s that were My Mind's Eye, there's like 1 or 3 sheets left maximum, and they're still very usable. So I find a way to use My Mind's Eye. And the other thing that surprises me is that there's a Jen Hadfield pad called Everyday. And it is not my favorite pad, guys. But for card making, like for creating cards, I tend to use up that pad. This is my second time buying it. And that's just because I blow through it. I have on top of that 3 of what you call the A4s. So they're not like this. that you all sent me. They are the slightly larger, and I have one that's Jane Davenport that I adore. The only reason I have some left in it is because it's my aesthetic and it's not everybody else's cup of tea. And since I make for other people, I don't always have people to make for with that pad. Although I think now with the challenge that I just had, I've learned there are a few people that might appreciate this pad. It's super funky, hand-drawn-esque. Loads of like watercolor, a wonderful pad, and I love it, but I haven't used it up. The other pad that I use all the time, and I've had to replace twice already, is the Prima, I think it's called Poetic Rose. I love this pad, and whenever I do a shabby project, I tend to use a bunch of it. Even when I'm doing a vintage project, I'll pull from it. I really like the pad. I've replaced it several times. I have a new one. I was showing y'all that I paid like $3 for that pad at the last Hobby Lobby sale. It's normally $11.99 at Hobby Lobby, but I paid like $3 something. But I love that pad, and I tend to go through it quite a bit. So that's one that I always buy when it's on sale. So the paper I love, I use up loads. But I also have in my stash things like a black and gold foil pad that I bought at Recollections. And it's kind of a great staple to have whenever I need that kind of paper. It's there. And I have this other weird pad called Boho or Bohemian Crafting. It's totally not a pad I would buy, but I think I will be able to finish it all. It's got a lot of gold foiling, and so when I want that kind of aesthetic for a pocket letter or a card or a journal insert card, I use it. So I will be able to use it up, but it's not one that I'm going to blow through. Like there are pads I just blow through. Maggie Holmes, Stamperia, easy to blow through. What I have learned is that I need to stay away from the hot buys. And I learned that because when I was going through the stash, and I also love like all the vintage pads, like those AC, like that when I showed you the 6x6 I bought. I love like vintage inspired pads. And I tend to go through them and I use them a lot. But the hot buys are a problem, folks. When they go on for that $4 and change, I have to resist because I'm about to offer you up 1, 2, 3, 4 paper pads, I think, 4 or 5. And out of those, well, I guess only 2 are hot buys. The rest are from, I'm offering you up 5. 2 are hot buys and the other 3 are from Tuesday morning. But the hot buys, one of them I never even opened and the other one I barely used. I just need to stay away from the hot buy. That's just the way it is. All right, guys, here's what I want you to do. I am going to give these away to whoever wants them. Hopefully first person who says they want it, I'll be able to figure out who that is. Maybe put the time that you said that you wanted the pad so I'll know you're first. I won't check these comments until I get up, and that might be late because I've been working late tonight, so I'm going to pre-record this and set it to come up in the morning. So good morning, y'all. All right, so the first one's called Across the Galaxy, and it's clearly like a very sort of spacey themed one in navies, and I'm so bad at flipping, in navies and in purple. This is what it looks like. It has tons of gold foiling. So all you have to do is say, Elisha, I want the Galaxy pad, and then put the time that you said it, Floridian time, so that I know what time you said you wanted it. So that's one of the pads, and you can say I got this to do a project for a girlfriend's daughter, and that's the only thing I used it for. But I'm happy to give that to someone who wants to use it. The next pad I should love, because, I'm really fussy about paper quality. This came from Tuesday Morning, and it's by DCWV, and I have 2 other paper pads by them that I love. One of them's called Love Letters. It's like fantastic vintage paper. I really like it. This is really good quality cardstock. Really good quality cardstock. It's the palette I just don't like. It's just not my style, folks. You can see there's tons of foiling on all the pages. And again, really good quality cardstock. It's thicker than regular cardstock by far. So this is what it looks like. See, lots of foiling everywhere. So if you think that you would use this, I would want you to say, okay, Elisha, I want this pad. And I used very little of it. And what will we call this pad? I guess we'll just call it the heavy cardstock pad. So if you want this pad, heavy cardstock pad, happy to send it to you. Now my challenge is going to be that if you're in the UK, in Australia, Singapore, like this is so heavy because the cardstock's really heavy that it probably would cost me a fortune to send it to you. And I feel bad because I'm willing to send whatever to whoever needs it. But the problem is that I think this might be too expensive to send. Here in the US, we can send media mail because it's paper, and that makes it really inexpensive. It takes like 3 weeks to get there, or 2 weeks, but it's really cheap. And I just don't think I can afford to send these to anyone internationally. But I can, if someone really wants one, I'll go and price it at the post office. So, okay, so this one's called the heavy cardstock. And this is the other hot buy. This is the one that I have never used. The only thing I'm going to request is that Nilda, I want you to take a look at this carefully and say it if you want it. Guys, because Nilda has a really hard time getting supplies, and so I can send this with her Christmas gift. So Nilda, take a look at this. It's pretty. The colors are pretty, guys. It's not that it's an unattractive powder. I wouldn't have bought it. It's just not me. I think, see, the clouds are nice, and the cacti page is really nice. And pink, I guess you can always use, and there's tons of gold foiling. And the gold foiling on the mint's really pretty. I just know that my aesthetic is my aesthetic, and I am unlikely. This is probably my favorite page of the whole pad. So I think I'd rather someone else got good use out of this. I'd rather it that way. So Nilda, let us know if you want it. If you don't want it, whoever else does, I'll be happy to send it to you. So we'll call this the Palm Springs pad, folks. All right, moving on. This is a Martha Stewart pad. I used all my other Martha Stewart pads. The one thing I'll say about her pads is that the paper is often really good quality. And it's just, I don't always love her prints. I wish her prints were more innovative. She's kind of too old school, I think. You know, I always say Scrap Diva should be the new Martha Stewart. Scrap Diva and Lily and Tamika, oh, they should be the new Martha Stewarts for sure. All right, so it has lots of foiling. Unfortunately, it's double-sided, I should tell you that. It's a double-sided pad. I have used half this pad, guys. So unlike the others that are full, this one is half gone. I used it for projects last year. So this is all I have left. But if you're interested in this paper, just say, Leash, I want the Martha Stewart pad, and I will send it to you. And this is less expensive to send internationally because it's half empty and not as heavy. But it still might be too expensive. I'm not sure. All right, last but not least, I got this at Tuesday morning. Funnily enough, I saw it this week several times and I laughed. I should love this pad. I should love it because it has so many things that I use all the time. The little typewriters, the old school telephones. There's a really nice baking page. There's a house page. And there's these old school cassette tapes that I really love. It's single-sided, and here's what I'm going to tell you. It is the worst quality paper I have ever bought in a paper pad. It is thinner than thin, and that's why I don't like it. I just can't stand it. Look, it comes with a sticker sheet. I haven't used a single sticker. I have used some pages in this pad, mostly for the cut apart. See, look at the record page. Very cool. It's not the patterns that I don't like. See all the cut aparts? I love the typewriter one. And I love that cassette page. I just think the quality paper is so terrible, I can't bring myself to use it. I want to tell you who made this. This is also the DCW. So their cardstock pads are really good, but their paper pad is so thin, it's awful. But if you use this with backing and you're careful, it could be a wonderful pad for somebody. Because look, it's got everything from like a T page to like a really, look, that cassette page is really cool. And there's the one sheet I used. But the cut parts are really cute in design, just not great quality. So what have I learned? I love, so let me know, what will we call this one? We'll call this the typewriter, because the typewriters are why I loved it so much. We'll call this the typewriter pad. Let me know if you want it, and I'll send it to you. We learned that this, look, clearly I now know what I buy and what I use. I like Prima paper, I like Stamperia paper, I like Graphic 45, I love Maggie Holmes, and I love a lot of Crepe Paper's patterns. Don't always love the quality, but I really love the patterns on them, and I do use them up. Yeah, and I love any kind of vintage or paper that looks like it's got letter writing on it, or it's being like stained and distressed. I love all that paper. And so I need to be very cautious in the future when buying paper that I stick within that. That said, my stash was really low and my scrap stash is even lower. So, you know, this these things that I'm giving away are very few, and I'm very proud of what's in my stash and that I've been using up everything. But it's always good to pay attention to what you like making with and the type of products that you use over and over again and the ones that you keep rebuying because you use them up, because that helps you ensure that you're not wasting money on paper and that we're not wasting trees. That's right, and especially when people need supplies. So that was great, and I have 2 sheets of leftover sticker sheets. Again, it was for a friend's daughter that we were making this specific project, and this is from Photoplay, and it's called Band Geek, and it's got like all sorts of musical instruments and musical sheets, and what part of this don't you understand? And Band Geek, there's 2 sheets of these guys. So if you'd like those, I'd be happy to send these to you. And these would be super light to mail because they are thin sticker sheets. So these could go internationally. So let me know if you want the Band Geek sheets. And that's really it. I did a bunch of cleaning. Again, it looks like I made more of a mess, but hopefully tomorrow this will all be taken care of. And thanks so much again to everybody for my amazing paper. It's thanks to you that I have it. And I'm excited that my husband was very thoughtful and helped me restock some Christmas ephemera so I can do some making once I get this a little bit more under control, which hopefully will happen tomorrow so I can be making while watching your videos. All right, y'all, I'm going to be working for a little bit longer, but probably sleeping in a little bit in the morning while you're awake watching this video. So I hope whatever you do, that you have a wonderful and rewarding morning. And I'll see y'all later on the day. Bye for now.